Garrison, unfortunately, not a whole lot has happened since we talked on Thursday. I was hoping to get some good news in the transfer portal front, but it
Yeah.
looks like things are kind of taking their time here. I know we had talked. Bo Atkinson was going to make his visit today with the Buckeyes. He did that. Um, haven't really heard much about how it went compared to his visit with Georgia on
Mhm.
Friday, but he was someone the Buckeyes were looking to get. There's quite a few other guys that they're trying to land and have gotten some either visits scheduled or offers thrown out. So
Mhm.
the guy I want to start with is actually a guy that I wasn't really expecting them to go ahead and reach out to,
Mhm.
and that is wide receiver from BYU, Mr. Keelan.
Yeah.
So Keelan Marian is wide receiver from BYU. He is someone who is known as more of quite frankly, he's known more as a special teams guy. Like he's a special teams, he's a return specialist. He's got 3 return touchdowns at his time with BYU. And Ohio State doesn't typically enter the portal for Ohio State or for wide receiver prospects. Normally, they kind of bring them in from high school and just let them develop and grow. But they went ahead and offered him, and he said he'd been contacted by like something like 19 schools. So, what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on them reaching out to him?
Well, me personally, sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Right now. All right. All right. Sorry about that. So me personally, I talked about this on X earlier, and I thought that was really important about this. What was really cool about this is that if you think back to Jim Tressel, you think back to Urban Meyer, they both put an emphasis on the return game. Have guys like Jalen Marsh, you have guys like Tegan Jr., you have guys like San Antonio Holmes. Um, oh shoot, Chris Gamble. I didn't want to forget Chris Gamble.
Yeah, you can't
Uh,
forget Gamble.
I don't forget him. So, and then you think about the last year where Caleb Downs out of Alabama, we knew he had done take some punt returns there, had some skill at it. He's a very good athlete, elite athlete. And you see in a game like Indiana where it's a one-score game, and the offense hasn't really settled in yet, and then you get a special teams play like that gets everybody. I haven't seen the horseshoe that loud in a long time. It erupted in there. And so I think you get a guy like Keelan Marian from BYU. He had like from his career there, 38 returns, 881 yards, which is insane. 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
I you know everyone's asking, do we, should this be what they're going after? Well, I don't. I think even he knows that he's not coming there to be your wide receiver. The question for him is at this point: are you trying to win football games, and are
Yep.
you trying to win a championship? And do you and clearly Ryan Day and his staff have reached out to him because hey, we think you have an ability that can help take us to the next level, help us reach our ultimate goals. I believe that to be the same thing. I think that this is one of those things where Ryan Day is, as a head coach, he is slowly but surely figuring things out, and now he's on the special teams. And I think this is a really big. This could be a really big get for Ohio State if they land him.
Yeah, no, if they get him, that would really help. You mentioned the special teams players that they've had in the past. I mean, Caleb Downs, when he returned that punt for a touchdown against Indiana, it was the first return touchdown that had in a decade. So it goes to show you how little of an impact they've been able to have in that
Mm-hmm.
aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So, it would be nice to see them get someone like him to know his role and come in and be able to affect the game in return game. Like you mentioned, they're not going to be throwing him the ball a whole lot if you were to come there. They've got plenty of weapons as far as actual wide receivers go. I mean, obviously you got the best player of college football, Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, still really good, former, high 4, low 5-star recruit, depending on which service you look at. Brandon Ennis, we've talked about him stepping up, and we all saw what Mylan Graham did in the spring game. So there's no short of, they're not short of talent at that position, and they never really have been. So um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be really interested to see what his priorities are whether that's going to be getting more targets or if it, like you mentioned, it's to win more football games. And that's ultimately going to determine where he ends up and how far Ohio State gets in this process.
Yeah, I think that for Ryan, excuse me, for Ryan Day right now, at this point, I think it's a it should be the only selling point right now for you. And if a guy's trying to have an NIL talk, to be honest, we don't have to have these conversations right now. I think if he held a gun to Ryan Day's head and told me that he has to just deal with only take the team that he has right now, I think he could do it. I think he can win a lot of games that way. But if there's a hole that you can fill, you want to do it. But I think that culture is something that Ohio State can't sell right now. I think that a lot of guys that are coming there, they know the opportunities they're going to have, especially if you're a younger guy. You know there's going to be opportunities when it comes to money. So that's monetary is not a thing to worry about. Right now, it seems like from what I can tell of these recruiting visits from last year and how it sounds like this year. And mind you, I put it in here, but we can kind of talk about it honestly. There has not one scholarship guy has put himself in the transfer portal from Ohio State right now.
No, the only guy is Anthony Vanieri, and he's a third-string punter. So, which, I mean, quite frankly, I kind of wish they'd go get an actual good punter, but that's a discussion for another day.
What do you think? What do you think about that? What do you credit that to?
I think part of it is not being able to. I quite frankly, I don't know. Like the special teams, like the punting has been bad for like quite a few years now. So I don't know. I think part of it was Parker Fleming, having him on staff, as a full-time special teams coordinator. That's part of the reason why I got fired, because he did not really do a whole lot. He certainly wasn't recruiting at a high level, and the special teams didn't really perform well in the field. So I think part of it's still residual from that. And then Ryan Day trying to figure out how to really kind of handle the special teams moving forward. But it shouldn't be hard as the Ohio State football program to find a halfway decent punter. Like that should be the least of their concern. What do you think?
I mean, for me personally, I credit it to whatever he's built there so far his tenure. Now punter, if punter is something that we got to worry about, doggone him, and those are some first world problems. And I'm happy that we have them, but it's still something that I'm not happy with, right? It's still a part of the game. So we'll still need to figure that out. But I am happy that outside punter, no one has entered the portal, especially at positions that are very full. I mean, I could understand why a younger DB at Ohio State would transfer out. I could understand that.
I'm a little surprised I didn't see like Bryce West or someone entering the portal yet.
Mm-hmm. I could understand why. I don't want to say names. I can understand why an older wide receiver at Ohio State, who's probably going to get passed up again, would transfer out. Who has some skill, but would I would understand why he would.
I wonder who that could possibly be.
No idea. This is a Buckeye friendly channel.
Just random name, sure.
Just ran I don't know, BR. I don't know. Do with that. But and then I mean, even at running back, I mean Sam Williams he came back.
I know.
So I love that. Also, I saw first off, hey Sage, how are you? Good to see you in here. Right here, because I think this is a guy that almost every Buckeye wants. Robert says Bo Atkinson will definitely be a great addition, but I'm far more concerned about D tackle depth. Are we actually in on anyone that you guys have heard of?
Well, yes. Robert, that's exactly where we wanted to go next. So we'll talk about the defensive tackle depth right now. So there is another guy that they're actually in on, and it's actually Syracuse defensive tackle Murad Watson. He has actually been reached out to, and he will. He's actually considering not just Ohio State, but a lot of the other big boys. He's riddled his decision
Georgia.
Four different schools. It's Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, and Ohio State.
If you look at all these these top defensive linemen that are out right now, there's two teams that you'll see on every there.
Yeah,
Ohio State and Georgia. It's
us in Georgia. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Watson.
And they're cleaning up right now.
Yeah. But Watson, as far as he's concerned, he's transferring after just 1 year with Syracuse. But in that year, was fairly productive at the defensive tackle position, 30 tackles and a sack. Obviously, as you mentioned, Robert, defensive tackle is clearly a big need for them. So they are reaching out to, more than one guy. And it would be really nice to be able to land both Atkinson and Watson. I don't know how realistic that is at this point. I think they're closer to finding out what Atkinson's going to do than they are Watson. But we'll see how that goes. What are your thoughts on Watson?
I think it would be awesome to get. I mean, he was a freshman All-American last year. Kind of like Abu Nosen was that when we got him out of Ole Miss. So it'd be something like that. But big guy, 6'3", over 310 pounds. That's something that we need size in the middle. We do need size in the middle. Also going up to Troy Pikes out of Georgia Southern. Everyone might not know his name. Go look him up. He on PFF, he was top 20 as a pass rush at the defensive tackle position. So he's someone else that could be a great get for Ohio State.
You think they actually got to do you think that Pikes is someone that they can land? Because I'm not entirely sure about their chances to get him.
I don't think. I think they have a better chance of getting Watson than getting him.
Yeah,
but I do think that if they don't get Watson and he's still out there, I think then they go full on like, hey, what do you want?
Yeah,
because listen, man, supply and demand. They have what we want. So
we got a lot of demand.
Exactly. And then you look at then this is what I will say. And I do want to point this out there back because this is how my football mind works. So if you give me a moment here, Ryan.
Yeah, cool.
If we don't get any of these bigger guys, right, and say we do get Bo Agason, this is where I'm not that worried. I think we talked about before. Maybe I didn't say it, but if I can't have a very big defensive line, then give me athletic and versatile. I think if you get Bo Agason, you're talking about as 260. You got Kenyatta and Curry, that's 260. You got Edric Houston, that's 280, who can go in and outside, and he's a longer guy. So if he's on the inside with a guard, he has the advantage. You still got Ty McDonald. Oh, not Ty McDonald, but you still got McDonald, who's
Caden, yeah.
He came down who's 320 now.
He's a big boy.
He lost weight, thank God. So you still got a big guy in him. You still got guys like Arbel who are going to go to the edge at some point. You still got guys like CJ Hicks off the edge.
We'll see what CJ Hicks does on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, you still got guys like Sonny Styles who can do anything in the front seven from linebacker to the edge, coming off one of the best run stoppers since he's been in college football. I think there's a lot that you can do in that front seven where if you don't have the size, I don't think MP would have any problem going to the 3-4 like he did with the Patriots. I think he has no problem doing that, doing 3-4-4 or 4-2-5, which we've been running for the last 3 years. So yeah, you might go. It might be hard to stop the run, but if you have guys with pretty really decent size, they're not like 230, 240, and they can move around the offensive line or move around the front seven different positions, I'll take that.
Yeah. I think it's just clear they need more help up front. They need, and it's not just the quality of the defensive lineman, which obviously that is something that's big, but they also need they just need more reliable depth, like guys who've actually played real snaps of college football, who can be trusted to play snaps in some of the bigger games, even if they're not playing a ton. Like if you come in as a rotational guy and you're playing 10, 15 snaps a game, that's good. We need more bodies who can be trusted in big moments out there. Another guy who, if anyone goes to Georgia, quite frankly, that we're looking at, that would be a bummer. So yeah, I don't want to see more of that. But Ohio State, we talked about once the season ended that they went ahead and got some more offensive linemen. They went and got Ethan. They got Daniels from Minnesota as well. they went ahead and offered another offensive lineman. Actually, he's actually got a date set to visit Ohio State here next week. So I'm talking about Sam Houston State transfer Orion Irving. He is someone that has been off, like I said, offered a scholarship from Ohio State. He's got plenty of offers now that he entered in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually he was an all freshman performer. Like he was on the all freshman team last year for Sam Houston State, and he would come in with 3 years of eligibility left. So it's interesting to me that Ohio State went ahead and tried to, is reaching out to more offensive linemen. We talked about how we thought their offensive line was a little bit like unsettled, but it was just unsettled because of the guys that they already have.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it interesting that they're going out to try to get more tackle depth specifically. So what are your thoughts on Irving and the fact that they're even reaching out to offensive linemen?
I'm not upset at it. I could understand why we did, because once you get past the first 5 guys, that whole room is very young still. A couple of juniors, but a bunch of sophomores and a bunch of freshmen. You can bring in a guy that has some playing experience, has more playing experience. I think. I think this is just depth. I don't think he's going to even crack the top 2. Maybe he does, but again, I think this is good for the depth, offensive line. And I will say this: I am happy that, because of what happened last year with the offensive line, has kind of been a point of emphasis on Ryan Day's head, where he doesn't ever want to be put in a situation where he has to, like, I think the offensive line throughout the 2024 season did better than I thought he thought it would, with knowing what would happen throughout the season. So, and I think over the last few years, in big spots and in big games, offensive line has been such an emphasis in those spots that this is something he's very serious about. I think that he's very he really wants to make sure that offensive line is never going to be a problem again at Ohio State, or at least while he's there.
Sure. It seems like that's been Tyler Bowen's directive since he came in. I mean, he's been very active, obviously, on the recruiting trail, and we'll get to that here in a second. Mm-hmm. And they're obviously active in the transfer portal by getting 2 guys who they think can be future starters. And, they're hoping one of those guys can start a left tackle this year. So they're definitely trying to emphasize depth, which is not something they've had. And again, that goes back to Fry and some of his recruiting shortcomings, but he was always able to develop the guys that they had, which we saw this past season. So I think I agree with you as far as him not necessarily cracking the top of the depth chart. My guess is at best this season he'd be a backup. But he's someone who's got a lot of talent. I like his size. I like how he was, ready to go as a freshman. Mm-hmm. So I'm never going to frown at adding depth on either side of the line, both offensive and defensive. So that's kind of nice to see.